So moving on to the advanced aggregate functions, I'll be showing you the basic things you need to learn about this advanced aggregate function. Okay, it's not really that different from the basic, so we will just be working with the basics but in a more advanced way. Okay, so now let me give my password. Now you don't have to use CLI, you don't have to use the command line interface. You can use your workbench for this project. Okay, but I like to use the command line interface. Okay, so let me just show you. I have two database here, so I have two database created here already, and we'll be working on the two database. I'll be showing you some examples using this table right here, and the second table that I already created. Let me show you the second table so you would see. I will also be sending this second table and the first table to you. Okay, sorry, I think alright, so this is the second table right here. I'll be sending this table to you. I'll be sharing it with you, and if you look here, you would notice we have duplicate figures right here, duplicate names and all that, but we have to ignore these duplicates right here. Now we have to ignore them. Okay, we have to ignore them and proceed, because I intentionally did it this way to show you something that you need to watch out for each time you're working with data, or you're working with a business or a company, or stuff like that. You need to watch out for errors like this. Okay, so now let's proceed. Okay, let me just, let's just use this, let's use the workbench. So moving on with the MySQL workbench, I think we should use MySQL workbench because most people are more comfortable with it. So moving on with MySQL workbench, we have two tables, just like I showed you in CLI. So we have two tables here. We have land area and we have salary. Let me view the table. So this is land area and this is salary. So we'll be looking at the advanced aggregate function. Now there are so many ways you can use the advanced aggregate function. I'll be showing you some the basic way you can use it. I mean, from what I'm going to show you now, you can be more creative with it. You can play around with it. As you're playing around with it, you can be learning more things with it. So I'll go straight to the point and show you some things that you really need to know about the advanced aggregate function. So now let's take, for instance, you're in a business, you work for an organization, and then you have data like this. You have a database like this filled with number, first name, last name, country, states, etc. down to departments. And you guys are selling something. Let's say you work for Temu and you're in charge of their database, right? And now you have to send dispatch riders to customers who has made purchases more than once. All right, customers who made purchases more than once. As you can see right here, we have 6 to okay. We do not really have much people that has made purchase more than one. Alright, I think we should just go ahead and update this thing before so let's update this figure here. This is also a good thing for you to learn in case you don't know how to do it, how to update values here. Okay, so let's just go ahead and update this value right here. We can say update. I just want to increase some of them from 1 to maybe 3, 4, 5 because we have so many 1 right here. So we can say update, the name of the database is land area, so we can say update land area, set purchase, because purchase is the column, set purchase equals to purchase plus let's say plus 2, where ID is equals to So now this id is equals to 2, so where id is equals to 2. So we run the code. Now this has updated the second stuff where we have id equals to 2. This has updated it, and now we have, let me open it, so we should have 3 over there. So right here we have 3. We can use the same method and say where id equals to 7, and then run the same query. So when we run the same query, we have, okay, so we've updated this one too. Alright, so this is how to update it, update your values here. Or you can just say set purchase, you can just remove this one right here. You must not necessarily update. You can just remove this and say purchase equals to 2 or equals to 3, where id is equals to 4. Okay, here we have 4 is equals to 1, so we can have 5 over there. Let me check if, okay, remember when you click on this sign right here, we talked about this one, but we didn't talk about this one. When you click on this sign right here, I don't know if you noticed that I've been using it. So when you click on it, it will update the last query that you wrote. The last query will be updated. But when you click on this one, it will update everything. It will run every query on the SQL workbench and update all of them over and over again. Okay, so we have to click on this. So the one with the ID 4 will be updated. So I think that one will have like 5 over there. Okay, what was the figure? I think I added 1. I think we added 2 or 1. I can't remember the figure that I just wrote now. Okay, so let's just move on with what I want to do. So let's say we are trying to send dispatch riders to customers who made purchase more than once. Okay, so all we have to do is we have to use aggregate function. We have to use advanced aggregate function to do it. So the first thing that we have to do is say select we want to bring out their name, their first name and last name. So we say select last name, first name, and then the purchase that they made. Purchase, select from land area, group by. Now in order to use group by, whatever information you have right here must be in your group by. Okay, whatever information you have here, whatever column name you have here will be in your group by, in order to make the aggregate function work properly. Let me close down this thing so you can see it well. Alright, so group by purchases, having, I think we should use having here, having minimum purchase equals to, or since we are looking for people that have made purchase more than one, we can say greater than 1. Okay, so this code right here will show us all the users here that has made purchase more than once. Okay, so we run the query and then we get their name, their last name and their first name. So these are the ones that have made purchase more than once. Okay, but if you notice here, we use having instead of where clause. We use having instead of where clause. Now if you want to use having, you must have an aggregate function right in front of it. But if you want to use where, you can say something like this. You can put where over here. Say where purchase greater than 1. Okay, so we run the query. So as you can see, we have all the items, all the users with purchase greater than 1. It's just the same thing with having. Okay, but when you're using having, you have to use an aggregate function in front of it. But when you're using where clause, you don't necessarily have to add the aggregate function there. So this is how it works. This is how you select to know who you should go to. Now over here you can add more information. Here you can add their price. You can decide to add price here. Well, if you're adding price here, make sure you're also adding it in the group by, okay, because whatever you have here should also be in your group by. Okay, their price will also show if you want them to, if you want to show their country as well. You can add country and then add country here as well. Alright, so that is it about selecting, filtering figures, filtering values using aggregate functions here. Okay, now there is one more thing I want us to look into. Okay, there is one more thing I want us to look into. Let's say in this salary right here, we are given a task. Okay, we are given a task to do some calculations and then give them, we have ID, last name, first name, feeding allowance, clothing allowance, transport allowance, hospital allowance, and the basic salary. Okay, so let's say we are supposed to do the calculation and then tell the complete salary of each user here, each person here, and then we are supposed to do the calculation and send it out as a CSV file so they can be paid. So the best thing for us to do is not to come here and manually calculate them one after the other and do stuff like that. We can write a query that does the job for us. So here is how we're going to write it in order to select, to sum up all these things. We're going to be using aggregate function. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is that we are going to write select Alright, so as you can see right here, I summed all these things here manually using the basic aggregate function that we talked about earlier. So I had to write some feeding plus clothing plus some clothing plus some transport plus hospital basics. I had to write them like that, and then I had to write this same column names that I add here. I had to add them to the group by, because I want to group by the last name and the first name. You can still change it from the first name to the last name if you want to. You can still put it this way. Now if you notice something here, there's an error here, okay, and this is something I need you to pay attention on whenever you're working with a company's database. Maybe you're working with a company, this is something you should pay attention in. You should be very, very careful, but you shouldn't make mistakes like this, okay? You shouldn't make mistakes like this, but you should pay very close attention when you're handling data like this. Now in the first data here we have 59,700. Now let me show you something right here. If we run this query to view the database, we would notice that summing all these things here manually is not up to 59,700. So how are we getting 59,700? If we do not pay close attention to this, we would submit that data believing that the data is correct, the calculation is correct, everything is correct, okay, the query, everything is correct. But if we do not pay close attention, we would submit that data believing the figures are correct. But because we feel like something is wrong, that figure there is very high, okay, that means something is wrong. That means it's either we have a duplicate somewhere, or something else is adding up to our initial value, the normal value we are supposed to get. So how are we going to check if we have a duplicate value right here? First of all, let's view this. Now, in order to check if we have a duplicate value, we have to add a count aggregate function right here. We have to add a count aggregate function here that counts this. It tells us how many times each value appeared in this database, in this table. It will tell us how many times each value in each row, the value in each row, how many times it appeared in each table. So running this query right here, we would notice that the first one says 3, the second one 5, 5, 5, which means we have duplicates. Okay, we have so much duplicates right here. If we keep scrolling down, if we keep scrolling up and down, we would notice that we have so much duplicates. I mean, this is not a mistake you should make, but you should look out for it. Now, why do we have so much duplicates? You have duplicates because you have things like when you have a query like this, remember I said this one right here executes the last command, while this first one executes everything on the screen. So you can have a query like this, and then you click on this one. What happens is that it executes both the first one and the last one. So if you have any query here or any code here that says you should add a value to a column name, you should add a value to it, and then you click on this thing, the more you click on this place, the more it keeps adding that value over and over and over again. You might not even know that it's adding the value. So I intentionally added this thing here so I can show you some minor errors you should look out for whenever you are working with data like this. There are many things you can do with this advanced aggregate function. I will also be looking at advanced aggregate function. We'll be looking at more of it. We'll be using Windows function and all those, some other functions. We'll be using it to do some other things. And I believe by now you should have mastered the basic aggregate function and gotten comfortable with it. So this advanced aggregate function shouldn't be a problem. Okay, it shouldn't be a problem. So after this, we will move into, I need you to get comfortable with this one. So after getting comfortable with this one, we move into the Windows function and some other functions we need to look at, and then we move into Python. Okay, so thank you very much, and see you in the next class.